This is a stimulus update and daily news report. Got some good news here. So the Senate has passed the short-term debt limit extension, which means the U.S. won't default on its debt October 18th. I'll play you a video clip from a Republican who was not too happy with this and not too happy with Mitch McConnell. You don't want to miss that one. We'll go over this article right here. Seniors group calls for Congress to send $1,400 stimulus checks to Social Security recipients. President Biden met with Joe Manchin again yesterday, talking about the $3.5 trillion package. I'll let you know what came out of that meeting, then I'll answer the questions you leave for me in the comments. Hope you're having a fantastic Friday. If you appreciate the fact-based, fast-paced updates, hit the like button down below. So here is the big vote right here. So Senate passes short-term increase to debt limit, House to vote on it next. So what happened here, this was late last night, Thursday. The Senate on Thursday approved a bill to help U.S. avoid a default on its debt in the next few weeks. The agreement allows the debt limit to increase by $480 billion, a sum the Treasury Department estimates will allow to pay bills until December 3rd. So looks like December 3rd is the next deadline, which means this is not a problem that is solved. There's just a band-aid on it and it's kicking the can down the road, which means we're going to have this same argument and same fight again in just 2 months. So what happened here, it was 11 Republicans who joined the 50 Democrats to vote against it to get that 60 vote mark. Here are the 11 Senate Republicans who voted for it. This is the list right here. Basically, I would say Mitch McConnell and his crew, the people he's always walking around with and doing interviews with, the Senate Republicans. And Republicans, majority of them, were not too happy. Even though this article here says some Republicans unhappy with McConnell's debt ceiling deal, complete capitulation. If you look at it, it's actually 39 Republicans who voted against this measure. So here is a video clip from Senator Lindsey Graham talking more about this issue.
With reaction, South Carolina Senator, he's not one of the 11, Lindsey Graham. Senator, you had some strong words for Mitch McConnell and your fellow Republicans. Why on earth would Republicans at this moment be helping the Democrats?
Well, we screwed up. For 2 months, we promised our base and the American people that we would not help the Democratic Party raise the debt ceiling so they could spend $3.5 to $5 trillion through the reconciliation. At the end of the day, we blinked. Two things have happened. We've let our people down, and we've made the Democrats believe we're all talk and no action. At the end of the day, every Republican voted against raising the debt ceiling. Every Democratic senator voted for it. But we had a process in place. We made a promise for 2 months that we would make them do it without our help, and we folded. And I hate that. We're in a hole. We got to dig out of this hole, and we can. We shot ourselves in the foot tonight, but we'll revisit this issue in December. This issue comes back again in December.
But slow down, Senator. I don't want to talk about December. Hang on a second. For 2 months, the Republican caucus in the Senate, you were all united. You were united until the day before yesterday. You were united.
Literally.
I mean, you think about it. Today's Thursday. You were united on Tuesday. You weren't going to do this. Yes. Why did Mitch McConnell do this and then twist the arms of, and we'll put up the names of the 11 Republicans that caved? You know, why at the last minute did Mitch McConnell do what he said he wouldn't do?
Here's what he said, and I like Mitch. I like all my colleagues. We're in a bad spot, but was self-inflicted. He said that if we continue to do what we promised to do, there's a threat from the Democrats they will change the filibuster rule and blow up the Senate. We cannot live that way. When President Trump was in power, he asked us to change the rules every day, wanting us to get our way, and I said no. So I have no sympathy for the Democratic Party threatening to use the filibuster to implement their socialist agenda. At the end of the day, we cannot be extorted and live this way. We should have stood our ground and played this out. I don't believe they would have blown up the Senate over this. We gave them a path to raise the debt ceiling through reconciliation.
Senator, hang on
a second. We just didn't want our fingerprints on it.
Joe Manchin said today again that he wouldn't use the nuclear option. So that if it was a threat, it was an idle threat that wouldn't have manifested, you know, assuming that Joe Manchin was a man of his word. Okay, so that, you know, and does that mean the Republicans, all the Democrats have to do is say, we're going to use the nuclear option? Well, we're going to be a hostage to the threat of the use of the nuclear option and then give up on core values and promises?
That's what we may have set in place. We may have made ourselves susceptible to this tactic in the future. Joe Manchin and Sinema have been great. I really do believe changing at the last minute, using the excuse of changing the filibuster, has made us less effective in the body. The Democrats are going to look at us differently, and the people that we represent are incredibly disappointed, and there was no reason to do this. Don't say things that you can't deliver on. We could have delivered on this. We chose not to. This is coming up again in December, and if we do this again in December, we will shoot ourselves in the head as a party, and I will do everything in my power to make sure we do not do this again in December.
Senator, it's a pretty sad, pathetic day. And, you know, this is the Republican Party pre-Trump. You know, the Republican Party in many ways created Donald Trump. People like Mitch McConnell created Donald Trump because a lot of swamp creatures did exactly this kind of garbage and didn't keep their word, and Republicans said, you know what, we need a disruptor, we need an iconoclast, and somebody that's going to really keep their word and fight for us.
Lindsey Graham and Sean Hannity not too happy with Mitch McConnell, but let me know your thoughts on this down in the comments below. Did Mitch McConnell do the right thing to avoid the government defaulting on its debt by October 18th? Should the Democrats have taken responsibility for it? Let me know your thoughts on all this down in the comments below. I guess the good news here is that we're not going to have the U.S. default on its debt by October 18th. The bad news is that we're going to have this same fight over again and have a December 3rd deadline, and that coincides along the same time when the government is going to potentially shut down too. So with the government shutdown and the government U.S. defaults on its debt, they're now just being extended by 2 months, but we're still going to have the same fight again. So the House to vote Tuesday on debt limit hike. So these House Majority Leader Steny Hoyer, what he said is, the Speaker Nancy Pelosi and I both have spoken to Secretary Yellen, who said that if the House fails to act next week, the country will be unable to pay its bills. This cannot happen. Therefore, the House will convene on Tuesday, October 12th to pass this stopgap measure, and I expect we will complete our work that evening. So October 12th, just 4 days before that October 18th deadline, which means everything needs to go according to plan or the U.S. defaults on its debt. Moving on, let's talk about stimulus checks. So this article just came out yesterday. Seniors Group calls for Congress to send $1,400 stimulus checks to Social Security recipients. So the Social Security cost of living adjustment for 2022 is going to be the biggest in decades, probably around 6 to 6.2%. But the Senior Citizens League says that is not enough to keep up with the cost of beneficiaries face. So what's going on here is they're calling for $1,400 stimulus checks to Social Security recipients who are seniors, and they sent a letter to the House, and it says that they're going to start promoting it a little more heavy. What it says here is, we believe that a special stimulus for Social Security recipients could help defray the higher costs some would face if next year's COLA bumps them into a higher tax bracket, causing higher tax rates on their income and surcharges to their Medicare Part B premiums. So that's one of the biggest concerns with a higher COLA, which is good, you're getting more money per month. It's going to make the premiums higher too, so it kind of levels itself out. So that's why they're saying a $1,400 stimulus check is really important to those Social Security beneficiaries. Let me know your thoughts on this down in the comments below. Should it go to more people than senior citizens? Is it a good idea going to senior citizens? In terms of this going into that bill, it doesn't seem likely. I'm gonna be honest. The reason why is because this bill almost just passed a couple of days ago if there weren't any conflicts within the Democratic Party, which means if it didn't pass before, it may have a chance to pass again, but it's unlikely. They're not saying how much it'll cost, and we haven't heard any politicians promote it or endorse it yet. So I just wanted to keep it real with you, be honest. This way you're not having any false expectations. When it comes to Biden and Manchin, so Biden and Manchin huddle on reconciliation. They had another meeting yesterday. They've met many times because President Biden is trying to get Joe Manchin on board so that they can pass this $3.5 trillion reconciliation, the Build Back Better plan, the Part 2, the stimulus package, whatever you want to call it. They've been trying really hard on Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema to get them on board. So far, looks like he's not on board yet. This is what the White House said after the meeting. The president and Senator Manchin had a good conversation about the president's Build Back Better agenda. We're staying in close touch about this. We're talking to him and also to his team. I don't have specifics about the meeting beyond that. Basically meaning that if no big breakout came out of that meeting saying that Joe Manchin is on board, it probably means that Joe Manchin is still not on board. So even though there is an October 31st deadline, that's the newest deadline to get stuff done for both packages, if Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema are on board, that could probably pass within days. But they're the ones who are holding it up. So in the last meeting that they had for the third stimulus check package, this was back in March with the $1,400 stimulus checks, third stimulus checks. So President Biden said, "You're really effing me." Biden reportedly furious over Manchin's spending block. So this was the night before that third stimulus check package passed, and President Biden said that to Joe Manchin. So I'm wondering how these conversations have been going on over the last few weeks. Here is a video clip from Bernie Sanders talking about Joe Manchin.
That's exactly what I'm saying here. Look, it's it's very easy to use vague phraseology, and even when you talk about $1.5 trillion, as I understand it, Senator Manchin says he believes in Medicare negotiating prescription drugs. Okay, good, great. In the House bill, that will save us $700 billion. Now, Senator Manchin says that he only wants to spend $1.5 trillion. Is that in addition to the 700, which would already take you up to 2.2? I don't know the answer to that. You don't know the answer to that. You know, Senator Manchin says he wants to tax the wealthy. All right, good. The House Ways and Means Committee passed a proposal which includes, as I understand it, about $2 trillion in doing away with tax breaks for the wealthy and large corporations. Is that where Mr. Manchin is? So it's not good enough to be vague. And I do not understand, to be honest with you, how in this time in world history, you cannot talk about the crisis of climate change and tell us what you want to do. That is really inexcusable. As I've said many, many times, and I say this as a grandparent, I do not want my generation to have to look their kids and grandchildren in the eye and say, yes, we failed you, and the planet is now uninhabitable. Yeah.
Along with Bernie Sanders, many of the other Democrats are not too happy with Joe Manchin, and they just want to have everything passed, but Joe Manchin's sticking to his ground. Let me know your thoughts on all that down in the comments below. Next, I'm going to answer the questions you leave for me in the comments. Betty Bencomo, any news on student loan forgiveness? So at the moment, no news on student loan forgiveness. I look that among many other topics. I look every single day. No, nothing. Even the senators who have been trying to promote it over the past few months, ever since all this heated debate of the reconciliation, infrastructure, all that, the debt ceiling, the government shutdown, they've been silent on student loan forgiveness as well as all the other proposals. But now there's some breathing room with the government shutdown and U.S. default. We might see some of those proposals come back, at least in the spotlight. So I'll keep you updated on that. Michaela Byron. Doing this isn't going to help doing this quickly isn't going to help anybody. Not sure how he thinks a year is fast. So this is referring to yesterday's video. I played a video clip of Joe Manchin where he said that. He said, doing this quickly isn't going to help anybody. Let's take our time. So yeah, I'm not really sure how Joe Manchin defines the word quickly, but in Congress, everything moves really slow. Next question, Lee Banning. Why is it being called a reconciliation bill? What did they do that needs reconciliation? So basically, the reason why it's called a reconciliation because it's going through a reconciliation process, which means that since the Democrats have a majority in the Senate, they could do what's called the reconciliation process, which is what they did with that the American Rescue Plan, the third stimulus check package, where it's just all Democrats who vote for it. They don't need any Republican support. It's a long, lengthy process, but that's the reconciliation process, which is why they call it the reconciliation bill. Thank you for watching.